It's the week of Christmas, and Dylan and Andrew are really enjoying it. Right now, they're in the middle of prepping the episode, but I have a feeling a really big surprise is waiting for them.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And joining us for this year's Christmas special, we have...
Libby Haverstick.
Hey!
Look
Hi,
at that!
Libby.
We have
Hi,
a guest
guys.
again, guys.
Do you recognize the last name? Chalk Squad?
This is sister to Nathan Haverstick, previous guest, and our voice of Chris.
There it is.
What a guy.
Also, Libby was voice of Chris for the Case of the Secret Room, part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did help out.
I totally
This is
forgot
a
about
this is a real community effort.
Yeah. And by that I mean I just bully all my friends into this.
Yes.
all the Haversticks. Soon you'll need
I mean, you've got a lot.
Anyways.
So, I'll state before we get into too much that we are talking about episode 98, The Visitors.
Oh yeah, we forgot to say the name. Great job.
No, I mean, we can say it whenever. It's our show.
That's true.
Anyways, back to Libby. We're talking about Adventures in Odyssey. What's your history with that?
So, in like 2nd or 3rd grade, we listened to Odyssey episodes during lunch at school.
I assume this was a secular school.
No, this was a small private school. You know how it is.
A Mennonite school.
Mennonite school. You know how it is.
Hey, you're a step above Andrew's homeschooled.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true. At least I went to school.
Okay, all
You go to school where?
In my basement.
That's a
alone.
reference to a Lost episode.
People are wondering why I'm depressed. Anyway.
Yeah, so besides that, I'm not very familiar with Odyssey at all. I don't really remember any of the episodes we listened to. I've watched a couple here and there.
Sacrilege.
We gotta watch one. We haven't done
We
that yet.
cannot. They are not canon.
I know they're not canon, but they're bad.
They're pretty bad.
Come
I
on.
remember that.
Come on, man. What about for our 150th episit?
No, I'm not committing to anything.
I know. I'm just spitballing.
I don't-
It's for the fans.
Yeah.
Is it? I think everyone listening also doesn't want that.
And if you do, tweet at us.
And you will be ignored, probably.
DM me. I am the people's champion.
That's true. Andrew does get a say in what we cover, contrary to some popular belief.
I do. It's fun.
All right. Well, that's a history with Odyssey. It's more than we've had with some people.
Yeah.
So
I mean, do you
Minimal
remember, like, do you have
still.
favorite characters and stuff like that? No, none of that? Alright.
she listened to it during lunch. That's not even like she didn't even choose it.
Well, yeah, that's fair. I just don't know how much you paid attention or remembered.
I mean, I did pay attention to them, but I remembered none of it.
Good.
Wit was familiar when I heard his name,
There you go.
and I know he was like the old sage character.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. As we've discussed many times.
Many times. It's just important everybody's on the same page with that, I
that
feel.
he is thinly veiled God.
Yep. Emphasis on the thin.
No, I mean, he's notoriously, like, chubby.
Rotund, yeah. Is rotund worse than chubby?
Oh,
Yeah,
actually, I
it
should.
is.
I said that's notorious, but I do feel like they have really slimmed down Wit over the years.
Oh my
Current
gosh.
Wit is, like, weird.
He is
He's trying to lose
slim.
weight. Give the guy a break.
Yeah, I mean, they did give us the Do or Diet episode. Anything could be canon post that.
Right. I mean, he's also 100 years old, so, you know.
Yeah. It's.
Really?
I mean, time in Odyssey doesn't really count, but, like...
I mean, he was like 70 in the 80s.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you want to get into it?
Yeah, I guess that's
Okay.
what we do.
I'll
Promo time?
Well, no, not quite yet. I've got a little bit of context off the top.
Oh, okay.
Which is just that, like, in the Christmas episode canon, this episode first aired December 23rd of 1989.
Wow.
Yep. And it is written and directed by Phil Lawler.
Mm-hmm.
and it is on album 7 on Thin Ice. It's track 6.
All right.
The album that has Andrew's favorite episode, Ice Fishing, with not Bernard.
Nope, not Bernard. Just Tom and Eugene. Yeah, no, actually, this album... This is interesting because this was one of my least favorite episodes on this album, but as a Christmas episode, I love it.
So I had the Christmas Classics sampler album.
Yeah.
Although it's not really a sampler album. It's like 4 discs, but this was obviously on that. And I'd heard it a bunch.
Yeah, no, I've heard it so many times, but I also I remembered it immediately once you brought up the idea of covering The Visitors, but I also remember skipping it as much as I possibly could as a child. And I listened to it again, and I'm like, I genuinely like this episode.
Oh, yeah.
So
We'll get into it.
we'll get into it. Won't we, Libby?
Oh, we will.
All right. With that being said, I will now roll the promo.
Next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
Why would anyone abandon a little baby?
He hasn't been abandoned.
What?
The child is ours.
The Barclay family Christmas is disrupted by the arrival of 3 unexpected and mysterious guests.
I hate to say this, but they kind of give me the willies.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Who are they?
The 3 of them have disappeared. They're gone.
Find out on the next Adventure in Odyssey.
Good promo.
Yeah, delightful music. I mean, yeah, just right off the top, music in this episode, amazing. Amazing.
I agree.
Thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it. I mean, I have a question for you, because you haven't listened to much Odyssey.
No.
What was it like hearing this episode, which was a Christmas episode?
Well, I love Christmas.
Wait, actually?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you said that really sarcastic.
It
That
was
was not
sarcastic.
that didn't sound sarcastic to me.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite holiday.
Oh, really?
I love Christmas.
Well, that makes sense, because for me, the Haverstick house does Christmas so well.
We do Christmas.
You
Yeah.
do, I mean, you know, say what you will about the Mennonites, they really got the Christmas cookies down. Your
true.
Christmas
We're
cookies...
not even Mennonite.
No, you're not, but you come from Mennonite background, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Regional.
Regional.
Regionally Mennonite.
Yeah, well, and that's just, question in general. Thoughts and feelings about, like, the format of an audio drama and, like, how it was to listen to it.
I wasn't a big fan. I'm a very visual person, so I was doing more work than I wanted to, trying to figure out the environment, like the setting. I like seeing the characters. And when I'm reading, it's more like at my own pace, and I can, like, you know, take my time with it and, like, really build up how I'm seeing somebody. Or if I'm watching something, it's already there, and then I have, like, a mindset as I'm watching. But this, like, I could pause it, but you don't really pause it. Like, you're supposed to just listen to it the whole way through.
I pause it constantly, but that's because I'm taking notes.
Yeah, well, and I take notes too, and I try to keep up. Honestly, I do my best. If I feel like I can't, I would rather listen to the episode twice and not pause it than listen to it once and pause it every time.
I get that.
I need to do it.
I try and do an outline, so then that also impacts it. Anyway, sorry, not to cut you off about your visualization thing.
No, that's fine. Yeah. So I wasn't super into the format, but I understand why they played it at lunch.
That is an excellent point. It does not require a screen.
Yeah. Well, and it's that
Keeps the talking down.
It's the thing that, like, right, that I'm constantly aware of when, like, looping other people in on the show. We ran into it with Arthur. We ran into it with, like, an episode my mom listened to just because she was curious. Whatever, just, like, different things like that where people are like, it feels like it's missing the visuals. And I'm like, oh, no, this just feels like Odyssey.
Yeah,
like,
Odyssey's just its
of,
own
like,
thing.
of, like, we have a very different perspective because we grew up on it. Whereas,
Yeah.
like, coming into it, I can definitely see the, like... Well, and also, like... easy for me to draw what the world looks like in my mind because I've spent so much time in it.
Yeah.
But you're just being thrown into it.
Yeah, like I listened to this episode and like that was it. I basically have no memory of anything else. So this is really the only episode that I've listened to.
Yeah.
So if I did it as much as you guys did, I think I would get used to it, but I am not used to it.
Sure. Well, and I don't want you
Maybe
to be,
you
'cause
shouldn't
that's-
be.
What did you say?
I said maybe you shouldn't be used to it.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that you're not, because it brings a different perspective than what Andrew and I can bring day in and day out.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. It's also more of like a children's show.
Really?
Yeah.
I am constantly struck by that.
And I do have like it yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
It's a barrier a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely get that. And this episode particularly feels very kiddish.
Dude, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, I loved this episode. This episode 100% just feels like Christmas to me. And I may or may not have shed tears while listening to it during my lunch today.
Oh, wow.
I know.
I'm surprised.
I know. I was as well. I did not know that it would have that impact, but I think just the combination of like it being super Christmassy in like the traditional sense of like that kind of like Christmas magic, the super like centrally focused on a family, like a lot of that dynamic feels extra Christmassy and just like a way that's nostalgic, combined with the fact that like I listened to this episode a lot growing up. So like it's the Odyssey nostalgia coupled with the Christmas nostalgia into just like a perfect bundle for me to really get swept away.
So did you actually listen to this episode around Christmas time as a child?
Yeah, but
I didn't do that.
But see, I also
was a dummy and I didn't do that.
No, but like I'm sure I did, but I also listened to it year round because like I had that Christmas album, but it was also one of like 2 albums I had on CD, so it just was in real heavy rotation.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, pretty much every night before bed between the years of like 3 to 15. Like not every night, but most nights, honestly, would just listen to Odyssey like one episode or something like that, and then it would end and I would fall asleep. And you know, before there was the OA Club and listening to it on my laptop, like it was all CDs, and you just put the CD in and you'd listen to the 3 tracks and you'd fall asleep somewhere in the second one.
My buddy, it was all cassettes.
Oh, it was all cassettes for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, aside from like the stuff I owned, but like because I got everything through the library, it was cassettes.
We had cassettes as well.
And then it was eventually streaming on the website for new episodes. But
no, so I used to listen to like the Wits End on the radio like website like religiously.
Yep.
Like
in multiple ways.
Yeah.
So the episode itself begins with like a retro Chris intro of her just doing her little thing, setting up the premise of the episode with like really good like Christmassy Odyssey music underneath it.
Well, it's not even retro because this came out. I mean, this is what the show was like then.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying retro as in like at the time it was retro.
No, yeah.
I'm saying that like just having come off of like we just jumped 30 years back in Odyssey history from last week to this.
Oh, 100%.
So it's a very different. It's such a different feel. It
feels
wild
warm.
that the same man wrote and directed both this and the Rydell episodes that we just finished.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. I mean,
because I was not crying at the... Well, I might have been crying, but for other reasons.
Just general emotional distress and disappointment.
And, fear?
Yeah, lots of fear.
Oh, love New Odyssey.
Love New Odyssey.
So this was just a nice return to home.
Oh, yeah. Very nice return to home. I mean, like, my first note for the episode is, I'm not sure how is the sound warm, Dylan? Can you explain that to me? How do you make sound warm?
I don't know. I don't know that there's like actually a crackling fire, but you feel like there is.
It does, at least in the intro for me. And that was like sitting down, getting ready for this. I was like, wow, yeah, this does just feel like Christmas. And it makes sense because it is like this really idealized, like what would a perfect Christmas look like, kind of essentially. Yeah. Like I feel like as a kid, that was what I would want every Christmas to look like before the homeless people showed up.
Right. I mean, I think that's kind of the point of the episode.
Yeah.
It's like we start out with the whole family, like, opening presents under the tree. It's Christmas morning. George gets an overcoat. Donna gets earrings, which are not toys.
Yeah. You know how many times you look at earrings?
Toys.
You can get...
What? Mary doesn't get anything because we don't care about her. Like, right? Like,
yeah.
They go through, and it starts with George being super excited about his overcoat, which he thanks Mary for. And then she's like, "Well, it was from the whole family." And then Donna gets the earrings. Jimmy gets a dune buggy, and then like that's the end of the scene.
Yep. And don't forget that I'm pretty sure George tells. Was it Mary?
Yeah.
Mrs. Barkley? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in my head, she's Mrs. Barkley.
Yeah, it's fine.
George tells Mary that to make him hot chocolate.
Yeah.
I was like, that was a little ornery.
I didn't like that.
I was like,
but he was like, "Oh, Jimmy and I will go outside and test out his car while you make us hot chocolate." And she was like, "I thought so." And I was like, I mean, sure, whatever. I guess this is what...
That seems awfully bold to have that kind of expectation.
Yeah, but also this is like 90s ultra-conservative Christian culture.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
even though it does feel very 50s. Like, this feels like a 50s
that's what it was.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This feels like Merry Christmas, the war is over.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, it's because weren't they obsessed with the 50s in the 80s? And if you're conservative in the 90s, it feels like the 80s.
Well, I mean, this is still 80s. This is 89.
Yeah,
It's not... I mean, it's Christmas 89, so it's almost the 90s. But still, technically, the 80s. Also, like, decades are mushy.
Decades are mushy. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at a decade at the store and I was like, that's mushy.
What?
Also, and maybe I don't understand the cost of things, and like I realize that they're speeding through this, so it's just like, hey, everybody gets one gift and then we're moving on. But do earrings cost as much as a remote-controlled dune buggy?
I don't know, man. We sell some pretty cheap remote-controlled dune buggies at Target.
Yeah, but not the one that Jimmy's driving.
Well,
yeah, is he riding it or
no?
It's remote control.
It's remote control.
But also, the earrings were, like, in a window, like, in a
That's
store.
true.
Like,
yeah, they're
when
nice.
they're shopping, they're
Jewelry
probably
store.
nice earrings.
Oh, yeah. Fishbines Jeweler.
Yes,
Jeweler.
which is the...
Jeweler.
Right, which is the jewelry shop from A Gift from Mad and Guy.
Is it?
Fun callback.
Continuity. We love it.
Yeah, even though that's like a fictional story. But whatever.
So it's not continuity.
It's weird continuity. I think it's them trying too hard.
We'll give it to them.
But yeah, as the one person at this table who doesn't wear earrings, I felt like I had to ask the earring question.
I think my earrings are, like, $3 or something.
Yeah, my earrings are like $10, I think. They're
I don't
dirt
wear
cheap.
expensive earrings.
No, yeah. Well, I think changing earrings sounds like a lot of work.
Well, yeah, because yours are like you have the balls. That you
Yeah,
have to, like,
I know.
twist off. That's a pain.
Uh-huh.
Once you get the ones with the backs, you just like. Boop.
Yeah, if you want to know what my earrings look like, check out my Instagram.
Oh gosh.
I hate myself.
Don't look at Andrew's Instagram unless you want a lot of thirsty pictures.
Yeah.
So
It's not a proud thing.
So then they go outside, as we alluded to, while the wife makes hot chocolate. The dad and his son go outside, and Jimmy's remote control car sounds like an actual car.
That's why I thought he was riding on it.
You know, if there were visuals, we would know.
I had no
excellent
problems knowing. One, because they call it a remote control dune buggy. You just have to listen, Andrew.
You know I'm bad at that.
I do. It's weird that this podcast exists.
Everything about me is weird, man.
But But yeah, so do either of you have experience with remote control cars?
Not successfully.
Vaguely.
Well, so not.
It does not sound as hard. It's not as hard as Mr. Barkley makes it.
Oh no! See, I think it perfectly encapsulates. Like, I don't know if you ever like, especially like the higher end ones.
Oh,
like
we had
like
cheapo
what?
ones
Yeah, we
Right.
had
when
cheaper
were
ones.
younger.
Like what this is, where it's got like an actual. So what I'm picturing is, so my cousins had a Nitro remote control car, because back before, like, I don't know, the last 10 years, battery tech wasn't good enough to have like a high-end remote control car, so they were actually fuel powered.
Oh.
Which is what this sounds like. The fact
Yeah.
that it sounds a bit like a high-pitched lawnmower
Yeah.
is very much that. And boy, were those things like touchy and like nobody messes with this unless they have like spent a ton of time practicing. I don't know. It just like, I was listening to this going, somebody had an actual experience with a remote control car and they wrote it into this episode.
That
Because
makes
it's-
a lot of sense then. Because
because
all
it's-
I know are the really squirrely, tiny plastic ones.
Right.
Yeah.
But then he makes the comment in there that's like, oh, it's made of only the finest plastic, which
It's like-
that's a pretty funny joke.
That is a good joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I take back what I said.
Well, no, I mean you've just had different experiences than me, and maybe this is a cheap one. It just it feels, I don't know. It just struck very true to me.
I don't know. This is the perfect 50s, 80s Christmas.
Right. So, and like Jimmy is,
Small lawnmower, remote control cars.
but Jimmy goes through this whole thing where he's like, he practiced driving this at a friend's house, so like he was already good at handling it, and then George takes it over.
So that makes a lot of sense then.
Uh-huh.
Because it lines up perfectly.
That's
and then
what I'm
he
saying.
completely
And-
laid it out.
yeah,
So
George-
that's what it is.
George is driving it around like a madman and crashes it into a shed.
Yeah. Like, thunderously. And in my head, I was so confused as to why it was so loud. I didn't realize that there were actual, like, tiny cars. Tiny death machines.
Tiny Death Machines. That is my new band name.
Ah.
Christmas album coming soon.
That could be interesting.
So we then get a great line of a extremely, like, obviously this is not going to really apply to you, Libby, but for Andrew, how young does Jimmy sound?
So young. like a toddler.
Right, because he's the one actor who they never replaced and like they let age the whole way up. It is such a time capsule to go back to year 2 of Odyssey and hear him as like a tiny child.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, and again, so like I had a ton of really early Odyssey on CD. So like the Camp Whatanut, which also had like Jimmy Barkley and like the Worst Summer Vacation Ever.
Worst summer ever, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The great episodes. They both like just feature basically a zygote Jimmy Barkley compared to what we got. Dude, we covered that episode where Connie runs into Jimmy, didn't we?
We did not. We could have, but we didn't.
Oh, we didn't. Well, that does happen.
Yeah.
And I believe I have listened to it enough to know that, boy, does he sound tiny.
In this.
We made our point.
Okay. Now we actually get into the meat of this episode.
Yeah.
Well, after Jimmy says the great line of to his dad of just saying, just remember this next time I've done something wrong.
Yeah, no, I love their dynamic. Honestly, as much as like this is supposed to be quintessential, like idealized Goofy, it was just fun and it made me happy. And like I listened to it today when it had just snowed like a ton for the first time this year. Like, it was so nice. Like,
Yeah.
I think that this episode probably made me want to go sledding today. So I'm going to blame it for my hip flexor problems now.
You should have listened to Snow Day.
Yeah.
So they open up the shed because there is something crying inside. And I do sympathize with George saying, is that a cat? Did they get the cat stuck in the shed again?
It sounded like a cat.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm like, I know I haven't spent a lot of time around babies, but that does sound cat-like.
No, yeah. I was thinking to myself, man, that baby sounds an awful lot like a cat.
It sounds like my cat before she throws up.
Oh.
so I know the sound.
Yeah. That does not bode well. So they open up the shed, and there is a baby.
Yeah, and they put it in a crib, and they comment at that, like, oh, at least they had the decency to put it in a crib. Like, they just assumed that
I think they called it a manger. Or did they call it
No,
a
no,
cradle?
it's a crib.
I think they called it a cradle.
It was a
Oh,
cradle.
it was a cradle?
I think it was a cradle, not a crib. Because it's that's
Yeah.
pre-crib.
I forget that there's stages. I sell cribs. I should know this.
Andrew Sabo, crib salesman.
When people ask me questions about cribs and I have to answer them, I feel like a crib salesman.
Yeah. We're talking baby cribs, not wrap cribs. For the record.
Oh, thank you for clarifying.
I don't know.
I'm a
why.
real estate agent.
Yeah. Andrew only sells to rappers.
Yes.
I paused to think of what the word for someone who performs rap music was.
They are. Oh, man.
Anyway. So yeah. So
This is great.
George monologues about this baby being left alone, and then out from the shadows step
Chris and Elizabeth.
Where were they?
further
Behind
back
the
in
big
the
lawnmower.
shed, I guess. Like, I'm like, they just opened the door a crack, I guess, enough to like shine light on the crib,
Yeah.
and then they're behind it.
Oh, I didn't. I thought that they were outside the shed.
Oh no, they are. They definitely step forward in the shed. It's fine. It's an audio.
Visuals.
Yeah, no, it's helpful. I mean, again, I just imagined
You
a
just need a better
long shed.
imagination, Libby.
What are
You
you
just
going to
need
do
a-
about that problem, huh?
Nothing. I
All
guess.
grown up with all that student debt and no imagination.
Getting real. Okay. So, the parents are Chris and Elizabeth. The baby is Zachariah.
But they want to call him Zach.
That's true.
But his
The
name is Zachariah.
Jimmy
The mom's name
and
is Elizabeth.
I know. I was yes. And Chris is almost Christ.
Yep.
I don't know why they didn't name the I don't know why they didn't lean into it and at least like even if you're gonna like switch it around, like have the dad be called John, like it just like it felt
Like
weird.
Jonathan or something.
Yeah.
Right, it felt weird that they went 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh well.
So, yeah, we then scene cut to them inside getting hot chocolate.
With so basically what ends up happening is like they step out and they're like, no, this is our baby, and I mean that's what he sounds like that baby's not abandoned. I oversold it. They are completely deadpan. Elizabeth and Chris they sound almost entirely emotionless in that scene for somebody who just got caught living in somebody else's shed.
Hiding out in.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how long they've been there. When was the last time they checked their shed?
I don't know, but I mean, if we were to believe their story, they're passing through.
Yeah, that's true.
They haven't been living out of the shed for like a while, but
Or are they angels? We don't know. They disappeared.
I mean, I think canonically they are, but
Yeah.
but it's also like they walk that line just right to where like you don't
You don't really know.
you can read it both ways, I guess, but like I don't know. So it's one of those things that we run into with Odyssey sometimes where it's like, how literal is this?
That seems pretty literal.
What's happening
your
right now?
your team it's literal.
Yeah, I'm feeling it's literal. I said that we weren't going to get ahead of ourselves, and now all I want to do is get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
Let's,
hey, it's a good app. So we
They have
cut
hot
inside.
chocolate,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, and they kind of do this whole fill-in where they're like, yeah, we've been traveling. We stopped overnight in the shed because we couldn't afford a hotel. Mm-hmm. And, then George...
Well, it's a kind of a long exposition. Huh?
who calls the sidebar? Is it George or Mary? Who's like, I think Mary
Yeah, I
maybe
think Mary
says, "Hey,
of
like,
course it's Mary.
can we step out?" And like Mary. So they like go out of the dining room or living room and cut into the kitchen for one of those classic parent conversations.
Oh yeah. They give me the willies. Why?
Yeah.
Why do they give you the willies? Is
so
it because they have no emotions? Because that did freak me out too.
No,
But
they didn't even have an accent. Like, I don't
No.
know why she's worried.
yeah,
Like, so
they have a child. You know,
This is what I was gonna ask: is there was zero red flags, right? Like we
Zero
all in
red
agreement.
flags.
There were none.
Like, I mean, they were strangers, but like beyond that,
Like, they live in a residential place, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Like, there's people all around. It's a young couple with a baby.
right?
is it just because they're homeless? Like that's it.
Right.
That's why you're scared of them.
Like, did they
Boy,
they
that
look-
sounds
Yeah,
bad.
I have a take on this later. That like yes, but yeah, it is just I don't know it, and I realize the point is that they're wrong. And like,
Yeah,
I
oh, yeah.
appreciate the episode for that.
But it's also
however,
really
it does.
hard.
It's just like they just came out of nowhere and are like, these people are scary.
It's like literally on Christmas. Like, they like you should be thinking.
You
like,
should be ecstatic about
I
this.
wonder what we should do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they did invite them in, and what they did was they cast them off on Wit, and then they felt bad.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
I think the part of the nuance of this episode is being like, it's not like they were like outright horrible to these people.
No.
They were just subtly crappy.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate that the episode has that level of nuance.
yeah,
That's true.
Because it's not this thing of like, they just like Ebenezer Scrooged them. Like, they did nice things and they took steps, and it wasn't even like they kicked them out on the street. Like, they set up additional accommodations, but ones that were more convenient for them, which is the point it goes on to make. But yeah, so like, I appreciate that it's got that approach as well.
it's hard because it doesn't leave a very satisfying answer, but it might just be because I don't know that there's a really satisfying answer ever for that question of like, what charity is good charity? I mean, can you do, a good thing for a less than good reason, and does that completely negate its value? Like, where is that? But
Now you're getting ahead of yourself.
yeah, but now I am getting ahead of myself.
As he is wont to do.
Yeah.
So,
But I really did like this episode.
yeah. So they decide to, they kind of go back and forth while in the other room, like, Jimmy and Donna are like having fun and kind of bonding with the family, which I think also propels them into action a little bit more quickly. The way that plays out, which I thought was interesting, of just like Jimmy and Donna seem like they're really getting along and like taking a liking to this couple while the parents are feeling uneasy about it. So the parents like double down and are like, oh, we gotta like act quickly. Is that a bad read?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they're protecting their kids, and I get it. Because, I've seen my family, there have been lots of times where I feel like, because my family is one to take people in, especially if they're, having a hard time.
Especially at the holidays.
That has happened.
Yeah.
Once or twice. But anyway, and then there have been times where we've gone to bring somebody in, and then I see that hesitation, and it's kind of manufactured, where you're like, wait a minute, we've done this how many times? Mm. You're picking now to be uneasy about this? Like, they haven't really done anything. Like, what are you bringing to this party that's making you feel so uneasy about it? So, as unreasonable as it sounds, I can definitely sympathize with the Barclays, but also, they're just wrong.
Yeah. And that's what the episode is.
Yeah. Thank you.
So they call up Wit. Mm-hmm. Because George goes, well, there's got to be, someone we can call, some agency, someone that can, take care of them better than we could. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I know who, who knows those people? It's Whit. And so he calls Whit, and then, like, we time jump pretty, like, abruptly.
Yeah. I felt like they skipped it because a lot of the beginning of this episode is essentially chronological, like, right after the next. Like, there's not much time jump. Like, you get up, we got Christmas morning, go outside, find the people, come back inside, we have hot chocolate. Like, very much there's continuity. Then they're getting ready for the dinner table afterwards, and it's like you'll have the rest of the afternoon is something that's brought up. And here it's just like big jump.
Yeah, and so it cuts to what is Christmas lunch.
Yep.
Which
again, you have the rest of the afternoon. Who does that? We have Christmas brunch.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have Christmas dinner.
Brunch
but they had
and dinner. They're doing lunch, and they're doing it with like the silver, like the fancy silverware, the nice china dishes. Like, it is like a fancy lunch, and it's just their family too.
Yeah. It seems very. Well, it feels like Thanksgiving, because did they mention there's a turkey, or is there a ham?
There is a turkey.
There's a turkey, right?
We have turkey on Christmas.
Yeah, but do you eat it at 12?
No.
Is the turkey for lunch, though, or the turkey's for... She's making the turkey for dinner. Do they get it out at lunch?
I was presuming they were using fine china. They were going to be eating the turkey.
Well, that's what I was...
I think they were eating the turkey. It was like a later lunch.
Okay.
That they called... Did they call it lunch or dinner?
They called it lunch because there will later be dinner.
I think it was a later lunch.
Okay.
But that was going to
But
be
then there's
nice
also...
meal.
Isn't dinner technically lunch? Isn't that a thing?
It can be.
Like, people call dinner
Dinner,
lunch
lunch.
and dinner... Or lunch, dinner, and dinner supper.
Yes.
Is like a thing.
Yeah.
That happens for us on Sundays. I mean, it's gone away over the time, but, like, that's very much how my dad grew up.
Yeah.
And so, like, lunch with the family is oftentimes called dinner, but, like, lunch at work is just lunch.
What a strange life we live, you know?
Yeah.
Can't lunch just be the same thing?
No, everything contains multitudes, Andrew.
It does.
So, right, I think it's got it. Like, I think the reason that it's lunch is because in order for the timeline of the story to work, it has to be lunch.
He solved it.
Like, in order for them to go out and invite the family back in, this conversation has to be happening at something.
Yeah.
And it's because they're going to do the Christmas reading, it would be weird if it was like a lax brunch kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they're like making it like Christmas dinner at lunchtime, and then there will be another Christmas dinner. And maybe the second one will involve other people, and we just don't know about that. Or maybe it will be back. I mean, we get the impression that it's just the family, which I found was interesting as well, because my Christmas has always been with extended family.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the big meal like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At least
As
with
many
like,
people
with
as possible in
grandparents.
the smallest pace possible.
Right. And then COVID.
Yep. And now we're just alone. It's fine.
It's great. Don't have massive Christmas dinners, people.
Yeah, it's not for the best.
responsible.
Oh, be responsible. Okay.
And sad.
The two important things for this Christmas.
Be responsible.
Have to make sacrifices, Andrew.
You can be sad about making a sacrifice.
But my boyfriend's still coming to Christmas, so like I'm fine.
No.
Yeah.
I have a boyfriend.
It's true, she does.
You're one to talk, Andrew.
Yeah, I know.
Notoriously not single Andrew.
I've been single for a year. Oh boy.
Wow.
Okay, so
That was a callback?
I got the callback.
Well, yeah, she didn't.
Yeah, I realize. Great. So glad we addressed that. So yeah, they're getting ready for Christmas lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy's playing Zapazoids.
2.
Zapazoids 2, very important.
Canonically important to note.
One of my favorite just like little bit moments in this episode, which is Donna being like, it's a good thing like that family's no longer here because we only have 4 good sets of silverware after Jimmy threw it in the dishwasher. It just...
That's so real.
It's so perfect. Like, you guys both have siblings.
Oh my gosh,
like,
yeah.
that just feels so real.
Somebody heard that in their house and then they went to... and they wrote it down.
Of just like the classic, like, there's no reason you need to, like, have a dig at your siblings, but you're going to anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it always involves putting something in the dishwasher that doesn't belong in the dishwasher.
And it's always on a holiday, too.
Oh my gosh.
Everything is already tense.
It's just good, efficient storytelling.
Accept my love?
Like, it's just quality storytelling in that's how we also set up that the family's no longer there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, that's the first moment that it's, like, firmly established that they've left.
Yeah.
And it's in this, like, snide comment that Donna is making that, like, she would, had that family not been there, and they were just setting up for 4, she would have just said, it's a good thing we didn't invite anybody over for Christmas because Jimmy destroyed the silverware. Like, she was going to make that dig regardless of what had happened this morning.
Inevitable.
Because that's what a sibling relationship is.
Yeah, I went sledding with Grace today, and we were literally yelling at each other while we were taking turns sledding, just being like, you have so many concussions. Well, yeah, well, you got stupid pots.
Yeah. It's great.
You're weak. You're an old man. No, I'm a young person. No, you're an old man. No, I'm a young person.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, sibling rivalry. It is delightful.
It's
and
just
gives meaning.
Yeah, it's
to
just
my life.
Fun. I don't know. I love it. And so then I don't know, George recaps kind of what had happened at this point, where he explains that, like, Whit ended up taking the family back to his house because he has a room set up just for this sort of thing, and then he'll connect them with an agency after Christmas.
Yeah.
Which is, like, the moment that Whit tells George that over the phone is the moment George needs to click for George that they're screwing up.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's one thing to be like, oh, we are, like, passing them off on an agency. It's another thing to be like, we're passing them off on another person who will then do like they added a middleman that they didn't need.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially it was like, well, at least it's not our problem anymore, and Whit's all alone, so it's perfect. Like,
well, but actually Whit has his family there for Christmas this year.
That's right.
They make a point of, like, recognizing that.
That's a whole big thing on this album.
Yeah.
It's brought up multiple times.
Right. And so it's like, it's this added thing of, like, they put a burden on their friend at Christmas because they weren't willing to, like, handle this themselves.
And they mentioned that, but they're like,
it's fine.
It's Whit. He'll understand.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, and Whit's never going to say no.
No, obviously.
But it needed that, when we did the Kelly episodes with Arthur, there's that moment where Whit comes over and tells the Washingtons, like, pretty firmly about, like, Kelly's desire to move in with them, and he like doesn't put he's not, like, saying you need to do this, but he's, like, putting his finger on the scale a little bit to pressure them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you could have done that here, Whit. It would have been good.
Maybe he is by doing the right thing.
I know, just that family thing of just, like, we're kicking, like, yeah, we are pushing this family off on another person on Christmas is just like, how must they feel to just be like, oh yeah,
we're an inconvenience.
Like, you're right, you're too much of an inconvenience to us, let us give you to our other friend.
Yeah, no, so my whole thing is nobody is asking these homeless people what they want this entire episode. Nobody's like, hey, you're passing through, do you want help?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They make a point of it in the car chase later on.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, yeah, it is a thing. But also, like, right. I also think, like, and we don't see enough of scenes of, like, the conversations going down here. But, like, I imagine that no one is, like, if the family put up resistance, then this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Like, I think that there is a level of them being willing
Entirely
to
without
go
emotion.
Well, there's that. but I don't think that they're actively going like, oh no, what's happening to us? Like, we're being whisked away on something that we don't want. Like, I think that they have to have a level of participation, because no one can, because we're not, like, our characters are not forcing them into a house. Now, they might be uncomfortable with it, and there could be better communication there. But, like,
dissent.
I don't... Right. It's, yeah. Just trying to be fair to both sides on that.
Yeah, 100%.
They then get into... They're sitting down for the dinner, and it's kind of like chatting about it, leading up to it, and George brings up...
It felt like he was giving a speech. A little bit. Did you get that vibe?
Yeah. He's doing, like, a pseudo-sermon.
Yeah.
Like, in that way that, like, dads do at Christmas.
Yep.
Like...
Yep.
Yep.
Right? Like, every like... paternal figure
started,
feels
I want
the
to read
need.
a passage here that I pulled up from Luke.
Right, like
Because you are my seed and you have nowhere else to go, you are stuck here and you will listen to me talk about God until we get to eat.
No,
but
it's 3:00 in the afternoon. You haven't eaten since breakfast.
Which was before presents.
ooh,
No, breakfast is always after presents.
It's during presents.
During presents?
during presents.
Now,
We put
that's a revolution.
We put the cinnamon rolls in the oven. We unwrap some presents. I think we do our stockings first. I can't really remember.
No, they've got it down to a science. This makes sense to me now.
And then we take a little break, eat our cinnamon rolls, drink our coffee.
You guys have enough presents for a break, bougie.
Yeah, I know. Imagine the endless wealth that they do Christmas right. I mean, clearly that's
You want a good Christmas?
No, I
Libby
mean
Haverstick?
we
that's
also
just crawling.
like,
And
we
I mean, those cinnamon rolls are to
basically-
die for, though. They are
Yeah.
so good.
We essentially do the same thing. We just do all
All
the
of it, yeah.
presents
Yeah.
while the food is being readied,
Okay.
and then go out and have the food.
Okay.
Regardless, so George launches into this thing about thinking back about the previous year, back when Odyssey had like clear years, and it is him referring to last year's Christmas episode, Peace on Earth, in which the Barclays learn the true meaning of Christmas when their house is broken into and everything is stolen, and the whole town comes together to give them gifts. And it's like, you know, your most like sweet saccharine Christmas story. Not that this one is like less, but this one is a little bit. I don't know. This story has a little bit of grounding, I think. Maybe.
A little bit.
Just like a pinch.
I would say it started off with grounding and then became slowly less grounded.
But more emotional. And so, yeah, and so he's talking about like the generosity of the town, and then launches into reading the Luke 2 Christmas story, and this is an incredible voice performance.
Yeah. Oh my lord, yeah.
It's
so good.
I was so impressed by Chuck Bolte in this scene of just like you feel the waves of revelation coming over him as he reads.
It was so good.
Like he carries it really well.
Well, and it, I don't know, that struck home for me as like, I read the Bible like that sometimes, where if I were to read it out loud, that's what it would sound like. Just being like, ah, yes, story that I've read a bunch of times. Oh no.
Really hitting home right now.
All right.
Yeah. And so, right. And so it's the whole story about, you know, Mary and Joseph not being able to find a place to stay. So they stay in the manger, and just like everyone is like, oh, okay. And like Chuck Bolte does a great job performing that, but you also, and sells it well enough that like you hear like the rest of the family also buying, like also filling in those gaps until like he like stops, and then everyone's like, yeah, we screwed up. And
Yeah.
and
And then
it's a cool
but
moment
then
of
they
realization.
all flip though.
Yeah.
Like they all,
I like that they all know it.
Yeah,
like,
they
it's
all
not
kind
like,
of recognize it together, and they're like, and that
Right.
I think
It
gives it
feels
its
like-
quintessential Christmas feel.
Yeah, but it feels like a family decision rather than like the dad just had this revelation, like drags everyone else along for it.
Okay, kids, let's go.
Right. And so, yeah. Well, and I like that. I like how much of a driving force Jimmy and Donna are in this as well, especially in this latter half. Like, it's an adventure for them and their children, but also just like that, they're like the extra kick in the pants that their parents need, which just also feels very Christmas. It's just the episode feels Christmassy.
We love it. Yeah, it's delightful. I mean, boy howdy, this is like a cup of hot chocolate, a mug. You don't drink hot chocolate out of cups most of the time. Dude, have you ever done that?
No.
Not out of out of a paper cup, sure.
Oh, that's fair.
The foam cups, when we used to I used to drink hot chocolate every morning at youth group.
That's true.
Or every Sunday morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Throwback. And then they had the vanilla.
Nope.
The vanilla cappuccino one.
No, just the hot chocolate always. They had vanilla.
Yeah,
cappuccino.
yeah.
No, the French vanilla, and they had.
And it was bad.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Yeah. But the hot chocolate.
Yeah, it's the way to go. I think I snorted that hot chocolate powder.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me that like middle school Andrew was.
No, I was a leader.
That's worse.
So much worse. They let this man be a leader.
Well, past tense.
Correct.
Wasn't very long.
Gulp. Made it 2 whole years. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I made it 2.5.
It's true.
And now another 2.5. They let me back. Oof. So
You're gonna cry now. It's fine.
hey, I mean, join me in crying over this episode.
Yeah.
So then it's the whole family like brainstorming what they can do to help out here.
And they get the house ready.
Right, talking about like, oh, we've got like all this old clothes that like they could wear, and we can. Jimmy's like, I'd love to sleep on the couch. They can have my room.
Yeah, I'd love to. Oh man, that was a thing though. Do you remember doing that as a kid and being like, man, if I sleep in the couch, I can watch television at like 2 a.m.
No,
Did you ever think of that as a
this
child?
is an Andrew thing.
Wow, okay. One of the few truly unique to me experiences.
Yeah, I've never like
actively.
I didn't sleep on a couch. I don't like ever as a child unless I was like sick. Like it wasn't like that wasn't a part of my. I never got kicked out of my room to go sleep on the couch. I never was like given the choice to do it.
We were also the oldest, so
Yeah.
I never had to do
I always
that.
had to give up my room.
Right, of course.
Always.
Bottom of the totem pole.
I'm in the middle.
No, but you're you're the youngest boy.
It's true. I am the youngest boy. New mixtape coming out soon.
So the turn this episode decides to take, and I really appreciate it, is so they call up Whit and are like, okay, like we're all set now. We want him back, and he's like, no, they left.
Yeah.
Like they just disappeared out of the room. It didn't even look like it had been touched, and immediately Mary is like, did they take anything?
Yeah.
Which is like white women. But like it just felt like so it felt
It's
so gross.
poorly written.
And I know that that's the point.
Yeah.
But it's still like I was just like, I hate that.
It's just it's the yeah.
Like it fits her character, but I didn't like
But
it.
I think the
But
key for
it's
me
all-
is viewing this as a period piece. If I can view this as a period piece, I can separate myself enough from the fact that they don't treat the women well.
Right. Like right.
But it still doesn't make me feel good.
It's the whole thing of that's hard because it's like, well, it's right. They're selling this episode as like everyone was at fault, but they're still giving like the worst dialogue to Mary.
She has the worst character, and yet it still comes through
And she
in
doesn't even get a
clutches.
Christmas present.
Yeah, she doesn't even get a Christmas present. She
has to
constantly
make the hot
gets
chocolate.
shut down. And you know what? She comes through in the station wagon when she's like, are we doing this for the right reason?
It's great.
I
We
And I was
will
like-
get to it. It is.
I want more Mary!
It's probably the best moment of this episode. No,
Yeah. It is my favorite moment.
Stamp it with
I
that.
wrote it down. It's good.
The views of Dylan Weaver do reflect that of the Wad Fam chalk pad. Stamp.
So they're like, Wit's like, yeah, they disappeared, and George and Mary were like, okay, well, I guess like we did what we could, and this is when Jimmy and Donna are like, no, we gotta go after them. Like, I don't know, we just drive around, see where they can find them. He's like, well, Wit's already looked for them, and they're like, well, we don't care. Like, let's
I love
see
the
what we can
optimism
do.
of kids.
What?
I love the optimism of kids.
Yeah, it's great.
Did you used to be optimistic? I did.
Yeah.
How long ago was it?
I don't know if I was actually ever that optimistic.
No, you weren't. Not that I can
I
remember.
think I've been just pretty pessimistic my whole life.
Yeah.
It's
notorious pessimist over here. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
part of my character. It's the way I was written.
I think I have to be. I definitely have to be optimistic if I'm going to be a counselor.
Yes, you do.
You also are generally pretty optimistic.
I try to be.
Yeah. You're the cheery one.
Is that for show?
Is that a question you want answered?
On air.
Maybe not right now.
I'm in therapy. Not currently. I miss you, Daniel.
I wish this was the first time you name dropped your counselor on air.
It's happened before? I'm not
It's
surprised.
happened before, and I think I edited it out last time because I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's fair.
It just feels wrong.
No, you can edit it out.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, whatever. We'll see what happens. I've got a week to decide. So yeah. So then they go and they're driving around in what I imagine is like a wood panel station wagon. Like, I don't know about you guys.
No, it's a
but
station wagon. Canonically,
yeah.
it definitely is.
But I'm picturing just like, yeah, some great wood paneling, nice long vehicle, harsh angles.
My last note in my notes is, this is why station wagons are good, because you can always haul home a homeless family if you need to.
That's true. That's true. They are driving around with 4 people, so.
Yeah.
So they're driving down these roads, and George is like, Jimmy points out, he's like, oh, what about that road? We haven't been down there. And George is like, no, we haven't, and you never should be.
Never alone.
Never alone. This is the bad part of Odyssey.
Yeah.
There's a bad part of Odyssey.
I mean, it certainly sounds like it. I'm imagining, like, alley, Gotham City, like...
Right, I know.
You know, Bruce Wayne's parents just got shot in this alleyway.
I mean, we don't know how wide their breadth is. Maybe they're in Oswald Heights, but it definitely feels like...
Excellent
it feels
use of the
weird.
word breadth.
I think it's funny to imagine, like, perfect small town Odyssey
yeah.
like, one, like, it's perfectly sunny, all the houses are painted like bright colors, and then there is one alleyway where it is constantly night.
Yep.
Everything is in black and white and falling apart.
Well, so
and there are just
There's a
rats.
thunderstorm brewing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It just there's one alley that is Gotham.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's got the stairwells, like the Parasite house, kind of. It's, like, low down there.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
You know, there's a bit in Parks and Rec where it's canonical that half the town is owned by the raccoons.
Oh.
And I'm imagining that it's kind of like that.
Okay.
Where there's normal
Raccoons
Odyssey,
run
good
this
Odyssey,
part of
and
the
then
town?
there's... Or other furry animals, perhaps, or just general badness. They just kind of concede half the town.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. If anybody wants to make fan art of that,
Raccoons running Odyssey.
just one alley. So it's at this point as they're driving down this alleyway that is just getting narrower and narrower by the second. Mm-hmm. That Mary is like, hey, why are we doing this?
Yeah, why are we running after them?
And it's really good.
Yeah, no, it's a
Because-
really powerful moment.
Yeah, her point is not like, you know, why are we out here wasting our time? It's, are we doing this because, like, we want to help them, or are we doing this because we want to, like, ease our guilty conscience? And, like, we could be doing this, like, even if we're, like, we might be doing a good thing for a bad reason, but we could just be doing a good, like, why don't we just do a good thing for a good reason?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty of this episode, because then as soon as they kind of round this corner.
Wait, no, I want to stay on this.
No, I'm not gonna push us past this. But I was just saying that, like, the minute that they round this, like, metaphorical, ideological thing, they feel better and they've gotten their heads around it. They're presented with this awesome opportunity that's not the same one as they had before. And obviously we'll get into it when we get there. But I just really liked how it was creatively done so that they were able to make it different and still surprise the audience and put out, like, a good product, but also, like, be able to act out what they just progressed into, which is, like, so cool.
Yeah, Libby, you'd mentioned you had this part written down, like that this was something that jumped out to you.
Yeah, I think this was probably the best part of the episode. I mean, because this is kind of what they're getting at, but I even got this vibe, like, earlier on, before they started going out on their manhunt.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever.
Man, woman, and child.
Yeah. Human hunt. Wait, no, that's a word.
It's a most dangerous game kind of scenario.
Yeah, and they're like, Jimmy's like, I'll sleep on the couch. Like, they can have my room. And, like, they have, like, all of these clothes and stuff. Like, my first thought, like, during that whole thing was, like, I don't think they're doing this to be charitable right now. I think they're doing this because, like, oh, there's an opportunity for us to, like, better our image or, like, somehow cover up this mistake that we made and just pretend that it never happened. But, like, this is the moment where they realize, I don't think we're actually doing this because we genuinely want to help them. I think it's because we're afraid to say that we messed up and we want to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah. Which is good and really real.
Yeah. That's
like, I wish a lot of people would do that and think about things that complexly.
I mean, especially, like, in the church, that's so common. Because it's, like, you just, like, you help people because that's what God wants us to do. Right. Which is, that is what he wants us to do. But, like, because we're human, a lot of our motivations tend to be more selfish than that.
Right. You want to do it for, like, from the heart and not just kind of mechanically.
Yeah. Or, like, out of obligation.
Right.
Yeah, that was my thought, was, like, that kind of, like, fear of what are other people going to think, and also, like...
Also, just we screwed up, now, like, we must write this.
Yeah, exactly.
And to that point earlier of, like, what does the family... Like, they're not thinking at all about the family and what they're going through. They're just going, oh, well, we can, like, let's just go make this better for them. Like, it's not like a, hey, like, we could do some things to try and, like, put us, like, make their lives better. It's very much like, oh, we've got the solutions, now let's go do them.
Yeah, and the solutions that they had were very immediate and very physical, which is necessary, but, like, that's definitely not all of what the family needed. They needed something more long term and something that would, like, help them more at, like,
a systemic
help, because
like,
if they have to aid. Like, if they have to sleep in someone's shed because they're trying to get home somewhere, like, they are obviously not in a good place and haven't been for a while.
Right.
So there's something more going on that just, like, a place to stay for the night and, like, I don't know, a nice dinner will be helpful, but it's not going to fix anything.
Right.
Oh, man.
And I wanna put a pin in that note of nuance, because there's stuff that comes later that I think sheds an interesting light onto what you just said. I just want to, like, make sure we come back to that thing of, like, the family, who is it? Chris and Elizabeth and Zachariah. Oh, I just realized that we have an Elizabeth on for an episode with Elizabeth.
You didn't? Oh, I realized that off the top.
I realized that listening to the episode, and I forgot it.
Libby's real name is Elizabeth.
Shocker.
Yeah.
People don't know it.
It's true. So, yeah, it's a
really heartwarming scene.
Yeah, but yeah, and I just think it's important to recognize that, like, they were trying to just do the friendly Christian thing rather than help this family out of the tough situation that they are in.
Yeah, and it's a topic that I like that the show is so intentional about talking about, which is like doing the right thing for the wrong reason. And I think it's just a topic that pretty much endlessly applies to the church just because of, the nature of the faith and everything like that.
And if I dare say it, might apply a bit to episodes we just covered, also written by Phil Lawler, where he takes the opposite stance, and I'm not at all bitter about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such... Yeah, I don't know. This scene is just super powerful. I like it a lot. It's got this good, like, clear-cut moral.
Well, and doesn't it finish with Mr. Barkley praying, George?
Right. So they pull off to the side of the road, and George prays. And we've talked about this a bunch on the show, but, like, Odyssey often chooses to cut away from prayers. And in this scene decides, like, nope, we're sticking it. Like, you're going to hear all of this in a way that I think really works.
Yeah.
And then in the Christian Christmas magic moment, immediately after finishing, Jimmy points out his window and sees the family at the end of the block.
Yep, and they duck into the Gotham alley.
Yep. And the car won't fit anymore down the alley, so they have to go on foot. And they show up in this alley, and it's a dead end. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, I do think of Parasite. I'm like, they go downstairs into, like, a little, like, hideout.
Yeah.
Where there is a different family. This family is Andy, Leanne, and Nathaniel.
Who does have an accent.
Right.
It's a southern accent.
Yeah. It is.
You say that like that doesn't count.
Nah.
So it is...
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
I feel that, though.
They do this thing where they, like, establish that, like, those three, while it is, like, the same setup of, like, father, mother, baby, they've been there for about 10 minutes. So it wasn't them that they were following running, which adds, like, it's our Christmas magic of the episode.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, they, decide to use them as angels. Maybe they were angels the whole time. Maybe they didn't want to be at Whit's house and they just ran away, and then now it's angels. I don't think.
But why would they show up?
No,
why would they give his angels just to take care of them? Is that how that works? I don't know.
I don't.
I'm not.
I'm not real big on the angel mythology. I don't feel like I understand. Have a great conception.
It's complex.
Of
Those spiritual beings, they're real vague. I mean.
Yeah.
You got any hot angel takes?
What are not angel takes? I have more of a literary take.
Okay, no, that's great. We'll let the English major talk.
English major.
Wearing an English club shirt.
Huh? Oh yeah, I am. When they first introduced the first couple in the shed, and they said that mom was named Elizabeth and the baby was named Zachariah. Like, we've already discussed that it is like the Elizabeth and Zachariah in the Bible.
Right, of course.
But
precursor to the Christmas story.
Yes. But like they are the precursor to Jesus, and they act as that in the story also.
Oh.
They are symbolic for what the Barkleys will come to do, I guess, or the people that they'll actually come to help.
Interesting.
Well put. No, that's spot on.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Someone does literary analysis.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was very intelligently put, and I feel like I said similar things, just way worse.
Yeah,
for the past
I was gonna
hour
say.
and a half.
I was like, I just had a moment of like, why do I do this?
Yeah.
Like we talk so much
I
about
am
like
so
story and stuff,
bad
but it's
at
always
this.
from like a very like pop culture-y way versus like a actually understanding like themes and stuff.
Well, anytime you want me back on the show,
hey,
I can give you that.
We will take you up on that offer.
Hey,
we love our returning guests.
We do.
So, cutting back to like my area of expertise and feeling like I have a good grasp on this, and one of just the other great things this episode does, Andy and Leanne are voiced by the same actors as Chris and Elizabeth.
They have more
Interesting.
personality this time.
Yeah, they have feelings.
It is, yeah, and
That's our baby.
I wanted.
Our baby.
That baby is not abandoned.
I was trying
And
to
that's why
like
I'm here.
because I thought like, oh, the impact of that is really cool, and I'll probably get to catch you guys off guard with it. I didn't bring it up earlier, but like I think that is part of the reason that they're so monotone in the first one is like, especially with these early Odyssey episodes. When we're in year 2 of the show, they don't have voice actors. They just have people talking in essentially their own voices. And so when you're bringing people on who have to play 2 parts and really need to differentiate, I think it's hard to do 2 voices that sound real if you're not actually trained in that. Which I think is why they come up so monotone earlier and then hit the accent so hard in the second, is because they're really trying to make it seem like different characters while also having like the fun underpinning of, but they're the same actors.
Wow, we're learning so much.
Okay.
Valuable information.
So like it's a fun little like kind of Easter eggy, kind of like clever symbolism to have them literally be voiced by the same people.
Yeah.
But then it's putting strain on these like somewhat amateur performers to make 2 different voices.
Okay, that makes sense. I did get the feeling that they just didn't have the resources to get good voice actors, so it's just like
as
people
I mean,
who aren't trained and like
right.
That's fair.
When we cut to like current Odyssey, like everyone has an IMDb page and is in like shows that we've heard of. But when we're talking about like the first like 5 years of the show, it is just like someone like it's probably like an administrative assistant at Focus on the Family stepped into the booth to say 2 lines.
Yeah.
Like, this is back when they're still recording at Colorado Springs, I believe. This is just, like, a lot of the writers and producers on the show are also voices. And then, like, the big characters are actually trained. Like, your Wits, your Connies, your Eugenes are all actual voice actors. But most of, like, the small roles are just, like, grab some guy from the hallway, or in a lot of instances, like, have a writer's child voice in. So
that's really cool.
Anyways, the backstory for Andy and Leanne and Nathaniel, baby Nathaniel, who they don't immediately shorten to Nate, which would have been just funny. But they are headed to California, but they were robbed. And they've just been in prayer that God would provide.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that they mentioned that, like, specifically, like, they were praying that God would send them some good ones because they've seen a lot of really tough people in their journey.
Yeah.
And, they're obviously hung out to dry, and they're just like, well, we just want to stay in this alley. Like, we just, like, we're not hurting anybody, are we? Like, we just want to be here. And they seem very scared.
Yes, that they play it well of, like, that defensiveness of they think that, like, George is here to, like, kick them out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like the way that plays.
Which makes sense. What? Yeah, that's fair. I feel like if I was homeless and I was started getting stalked by somebody in a station wagon, I think that's when I would start running.
But yeah, and so they've been so we established they were robbed because it's Christmas. They weren't able to do anything, but Andy is planning to says that he's planning to look for work tomorrow, that they're just they just needed somewhere to hang for the day.
Yeah.
And so
Perfect opportunity for
Right.
the Barclays to invite them back to their house.
yeah, and you get the fantastic, we're already set up for you, as weird as it sounds, we'll explain on the way, just come along with us. And Leanne saying, you're an answer to prayer, and George responding, so are you.
Yeah.
And that's what we go out on.
And
it's
good Christmas
really
music.
Nice. Now,
It's a week before Christmas Eve.
Yeah. When we're recording. When this episode comes out, it'll be 3 days till Christmas.
Wow.
But the thing that I want to push a little bit with this, whether intentional or not, one, I mean, the fact that they were robbed is fun parallel to the Barclays' previous Christmas. Mm-hmm. But the family that they took in earlier, who we later find out to be angels, were a family who was down on their time, homeless, passing through, and found shelter in their shed. Mm-hmm. This family that they are having here are on their way to California, were robbed, so they can more clearly cut state, especially for the conservatism of focus on the family. Mm-hmm. They can way more clearly be these people were a victim of circumstance.
And safe.
They are right. Andy makes it clear that he is going to look for work.
Yep.
That they're not freeloading.
Yep.
That they're just down
Yep,
on their
and
luck.
they're Christians.
And, right.
Yeah.
And they've been praying to God.
I'm so glad that you guys all heard that and you're
I picked up on that and I'm like,
Yeah. Really... It is...
Are we supposed to only help Christians?
do we need
to? It is
and
just...
they're definitely Southern. It's they're definitely white.
Yeah. It was the let's put a nice
The other people
bow
could have
on
been
this.
aliens. They had no emotions. We have no way of knowing anything about them.
They were angels. Kind of aliens. So...
Back up to the alien mythology. I mean, angel mythology.
Yeah. The thing, right, that they are really, it is the most ideal situation in which you could take a family in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it is focused, kind of giving people an out, it feels of being you don't,
yeah,
if your kids listen to this episode and you still have a way that you can weasel your way out of it. Yeah. Is the way it kind of feels you're setting up the perfect scenario so that if the scenario is not this perfect in real life, you have an out.
Yeah. And if this was the family that was the first family, there would obviously be no episode because they wouldn't be hesitant about offering anything to them or letting them stay in their house because they have clearly stated their intentions and stuff just happened. Right. And with the first family, they don't really give much information. They're pretty vague. They mention nothing about religion at all.
Yeah.
And then...
Interesting if that's what angels are like.
It's just... Yeah, that first... that first
is going to blow your mind a little bit.
Which is... You're right. That first... Those first people, despite their, they feel more real, despite the fact that they will later vanish and be angels. But
100%.
Their situation feels like more of what you're going to run into than the perfect Christmas family who are Christians who were robbed and looking for work.
Yeah.
Like
most people who are
it makes it
help.
Right.
are not going to
Exactly.
give you a lot of information about their life.
Well, are not going to give you a lot of information, and the information is not going to be that palatable. Maybe it is, but like the fact that the show is going out of its way to just give us the version of it where there's no reason for them to question it.
Yeah.
When they've already gone through it and feel like they need to
push
take
themselves
in anywhere. Like if you're doing this from a pure story reason, it feels like you do want them to take in a less lovable family to end it.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're doing it as like this conservative media outlet, you're holding back from landing that punch.
Yeah.
It just it feels like the
almost like the focus has shifted from the family.
And this was in the 90s.
Yeah.
80s even. But like just that thing of like there is more, it's more proof of them showing the love of God if the family like is rougher.
Yeah, 100%.
But they like sanitize them in a way that
Whit's the one that's showing the love of God here, canceling his family plans and taking these people in and being like, yeah, I was just ready to have people over, you know, because that's just what I do because I live alone and I don't have a television. And so when people need my help, I help them.
Yeah. And like, I know, right. It's a hard thing of this is just, it's not just that this is like the like conservative Christian ending. This is also like the cliche holiday ending.
Yeah.
Like you want to be able to end on the line of the person in need saying that they were an answer to prayer and the other person responding, so are you.
Yeah.
Like that is a nice, heartwarming way to end. It's just a problem because it makes it feel like, did they really learn the lesson?
That's not real life,
this
though.
Was supposed, that like this episode was teaching, and what are the people listening to this episode taking from it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you find someone who's in need but not your perfect picture of what a person in need is, then you just don't have to help them?
Yeah. Well, and so what it does is it creates this idea that, like, okay, so love is only real with sacrifice, right? But we can safeguard a certain amount of sacrifice to make it comfortable, you know? So we, like you said, they establish with the dialogue that these people are super safe, super approachable. No reason to think that this isn't like a white picket fence ending for them. You know, they're going to turn their life around, and the Barclays are just an answer to prayer to help them do that. Like that,
right.
That's what leaves a warm feeling in your stomach, but that's not real life, and that's not the Bible.
Well, it is, the story sets up unrealistic fairy tale expectations for what it looks like to be a good neighbor and help someone in need.
That's very well put, Dylan.
Yeah.
And
are you an English major?
No. But like, and that's the slight bummer to this whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I definitely agree with you, and I kind of figured that you guys didn't feel so icky about that, and it's like I was not prepared. I was
gonna be reading into it.
I was afraid that like that was like nah, you're just making a mountain out of a molehill. But when we sat down here and you were like, no, this is my beef, and I was like,
right,
what?
So then it's interesting because we all picked up on it,
but we didn't say anything.
Well, it could have been because this is 2020, and we are much more sensitive to things like that and are much more aware. Mm-hmm. And it could have just been like the times, and they're like, yeah, this is like a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then they also could have written it with the intent of their listeners being like, well, that's a little too perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They could, but
I would have liked it if it was a little messier, but I like things messy.
Well, I mean, yeah. It was too perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it wasn't.
Yeah.
But right, like, yeah, the question of like intent of like, well, was that their point, was to make it too perfect so that people would like draw attention to that? And I
don't know that it's that meta.
Unfortunately think that's giving it a little too much credit. I have also thought myself into those circles.
We can hope.
The cons of being an English major.
Well, but it's also just like that. It's the thing of like, I don't know, having experience with this show and also like, but also like you can read into, but like it is a show for kids. Kids are not going to pick up that nuance.
That's true.
No.
That's true.
Even if they're listening with their parents, I don't think that like it was designed as a conversation starter. I think it was just putting like a nice bow on things.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's my 2 cents. That being said, I still loved it. It still had a huge emotional impact. Obviously, I cried. But like, and like, I think it works well as an episode. I'm just like, if we are going to talk about it today in 2020 and talk about it honestly, I need to draw attention to what I feel like are its shortcomings.
Oh yeah, 100%. I keep saying that. I definitely agree with what you've said. I think that, yeah, the kind of what I said earlier about being able to separate ourselves, like the social dynamic with Mary and the writing isn't great, but that's nothing new for Odyssey. You know, like we've complained about, you know, less than optionally written female characters for pretty much the entire length of the show.
Right.
And so what we are left with...
Notoriously have few female writers.
Yeah. And like what we are left with is a pretty good episode and like really good. It feels good to watch it. Like we said, like it feels like Christmas to listen to it. Like I would recommend anybody listening to this, if you have access to it, to listen to this episode, The Visitor. Visitors, sorry. Thank you.
Maybe they are aliens.
But that is still a thing to keep in mind, though. Like you, as an English major, I have had to learn that you can appreciate something that exists, like a piece of work that is well written, it's well designed, and you can see the shortcomings in it or see the shortcomings in the creator of this piece.
The only way I've been able to be a Kanye West fan.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying that it's good, but I'm also saying that this person was a racist or this person was sexist or whatever. Like you're allowed to acknowledge both of them at once.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You can hold in your head both the fact that this person was like a bad person for whatever reason, and yet the art they created was still good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I mean, that's almost the premise of this show.
Yeah, I would actually,
is like us not liking Focus on the Family and having beef with some of the writers of the show and a lot of the things it does, but also going, this is nostalgic for us, but also good beyond the nostalgia.
Yeah, it's good.
And trying to, not let things slide by. Like, I think we've been criticized for being overly critical of these shows, and I would push back and say, like, I think it's important that we are taking them at, like, that we are digging in and we are not just accepting what they have to say, that we're pushing back and like,
well, yeah, because
and at the end of the day we still like them almost always.
Exactly, because there's always something. I would say that pretty much every episode that I've covered, I've been able to find something redeemable in it. Yeah. Maybe I'm not remembering one. Maybe Modesty's the best policy wasn't great.
But it at least sounded good.
Oh, it did sound great.
Yeah, that is the episodes that I really dislike. You'll have noticed that I overly compliment them on sound design.
Yes.
Because I'm like, well, if all else fails, it at least sounds good. The performances are good. Like,
That's it.
right. This story is crap. I don't like the points they're making, but like,
It sounds nice.
everyone's putting effort in.
It's just a really great teamwork.
Yeah. All right. Any you guys have closing thoughts for this episode?
Oh, sweet heavens. No, I don't think I have any other than I like the episode. And yeah, is this our third Christmas episode?
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's our third year.
Wow. Oh my god. Wow.
All right. You have the closing thoughts? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we've been doing closing thoughts for like 20 minutes, so
Yes.
feel like the thoughts are closed. So to bring us out, one, because you are our guest, is there anything you would like to plug, Libby Haverstick?
I mean, if you want, you can follow my writing account on Instagram. It's Libby Have Writes.
Hey, do I follow you?
I don't know. You should.
I think I do.
I will put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, that's the only account that is public of mine. I will not let you follow my real account.
Neither will I.
I'm an idiot.
And that's our dynamic. Andrew, anything you want to plug here?
Not a dime.
Okay.
No, that was not even a...
Not a dime. Nope. Yeah, nothing to plug for Andrew. I have I think I'm plugging 3 things. Whatever. One, if you are listening to this when it comes out, you have 3 days to buy our Christmas sweater. So go do that. It is one of my favorite things I've created.
He did a special design that made it look like an actual knit sweater. It's pretty funky.
It's
It's
a
pretty
good
cool.
Design. Dylan's really excited about it.
He does good work.
So there's that. You got a couple days left before it disappears, maybe forever. Who knows? And then, as is tradition, I think every year I plug this, but my Christmas playlist has been expanded. It's on Spotify. I will put the link in the description. It is 75, I think, songs at this point.
Wow.
With no repeat songs.
And no repeat artists?
There are repeat artists.
Okay.
The thing with the artists is they are all artists that I have listened to outside of Christmas music doing Christmas music.
Yeah.
So, like, you won't find any, like, Amy Grant or Michael Bublé stuff on there because, like, I'm specifically choosing, like, these are bands that I listen to otherwise that also did a Christmas song. And there's, like, 75 of them. The playlist is over 4 hours. Just put it on and you know, enjoy the Christmas. You've got a couple days
It's
left
Dylan's
of that.
Christmas.
Yeah, it leans pretty heavy like alt rock, but you know, there are some classics on there.
We're into that though.
Yeah, I'm into that.
I am.
And then the last thing I want to plug, just in, I don't know, we're coming to the end of the year, and we've been talking a lot about this episode, is just a plug for your local food bank. Great time. I mean,
Every time is a great time.
every time is a great time, but as like the classic, like it's the holidays, and also like for tax reasons, the year is coming to an end. Like there,
And
it's
for COVID. It's been going
right.
on a long time.
Yeah, just
Like,
like
food banks have been, like, eradicated by COVID, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good.
yeah.
So donate if you have the means. If you're listening to this and you think, you know what, I will do that. It doesn't have to be much, but it literally everything helps.
Yeah.
Everything helps. And typically the stuff that, food drives ask for is very cheap, non-perishable goods.
Yeah.
That you can pick up really, really affordably at pretty much any grocer.
Or you probably have it.
Or you have it yourself,
Right.
and then
You've
it's
had it
just
for
free.
years.
Right.
Clean out your cabinet.
Right. We all know you
Yeah.
have that can of baked beans that you haven't cracked for like 3 years now.
Oh, we have.
I mean, if that's expired, don't give it. But you know what I mean. 3 years might have been
I'm
too much.
terrified to look at the expiration date in our pantry.
They're canned goods. They were made to like withstand wars. They're probably fine.
I mean, that's fair. When your canned goods withstand more than you can.
And last bit of housekeeping before we go out. We came to the close on a saga. We just did our Christmas episode. We will not be back until the new year. And we are coming back with an episode that we were sort of setting up with this, but we're going to come back to talk about A Prayer for George Barkley, which is part 1 of our dive into what I am dubbing the Pastor George Barkley arc, which is us going through George Barkley's call to ministry and all that entails. So that is what we will be covering in the new year. I am super excited for that.
Yeah, me too. If you like Old Odyssey, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I
it's
feel
gonna
like
be
if
such a
this
nice
episode
refresher.
has established anything, it's that we both missed Old Odyssey and we're excited to cover it. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited for this. Me and Dylan have planned out a little bit about what we're going to be covering going into 2021. And yeah, I'm excited. And thank you guys for being here for round number 3 of the Christmas episode.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to us in 2020. It's been a weird year, but it's been it's been nice
better
to be able
because of you guys, though.
Yeah, I agree. All right, and with all that being said, we will see you in 2021 for episode 262, A Prayer for George Barkley. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Wadfam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at wadfamchalkpod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. The Visitors was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Sabo, with special guest Libby Haverstick. It was edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.